You don't lack time, you lack energy. This is one of the single biggest realizations that I've had recently that has completely revolutionized the way I approach my productivity and a whole bunch of different things in my life. And I'm going to explain it to you as best as I can on this Car Ride to Go train. For most people, the biggest barrier to success for them is not time. A lot of people think, oh, I don't have enough time to do that. I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to train. I don't have enough time to work out. I don't have enough time to build a business or, a side hustle or anything like that. I just don't have the time. And the reality is that for most people, there's really two other things that are more likely to be going on than an actual lack of time. One of them is being unwilling to prioritize, which usually comes down to an unwillingness to set boundaries, either with yourself or with other people. That's a whole other topic on its own. But the other one is lack of energy. Usually, when people say, I don't have time to do that, if you ask them why, the answer usually comes down to, I'm tired. I'm too tired. So they might say, well, I get up in the morning and I have to go to work, and then when I get home from work, I'm just too tired. I'm too destroyed from my day at work in order to do anything else. Okay, so the problem isn't that you don't have enough time. The problem is that you're too tired to actually spend the time on the thing that you supposedly want to spend it on. That's a completely different issue. And it's a mistake that a lot of people make, and it's ingrained into people, and I don't understand why. I've been extremely guilty of this in the past, and it took me a while to train myself out of it. And I don't understand why it's trained into people, what ingrains it into people's behavior. But it's a very common thing, where people, you can kind of be lazy and call it excuses, but I think that's a bit of a lazy approach. People will attribute a problem to another problem, right? So instead of just admitting that they're tired, they'll say, oh, I don't have time. And I think the reason they do it is because if they don't have time, there's very little or nothing they can do about that in most cases. But if they don't have energy, there's two problems with that reason. One, some people will just say, oh, you're just being lazy, which is bullshit, by the way. Laziness doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. There's no such thing as being lazy. It's not a thing. That's a whole other video, but laziness doesn't exist. Or the other answer is, well, that's something they can in theory do something about. There are ways to increase your energy. So it's something that they actually could do something about, which then gives them some agency and some responsibility. Versus if they say, I don't have time, usually people can't do anything about that because most people don't have control over their time. You can even look at extreme examples and you can still see that this is evidently true. For example, let's say, I've heard crazy stories, man. I've heard people say crazy stuff that I frankly struggle to believe. Things like, oh, well, I don't have time to work on my business because, I get up at 4 a.m. every morning and then I work from 5, or from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or, from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. I work a 12-hour shift, 7 days a week. And then when I get home, I'm too tired. Or even if they're like maybe they like, oh, I get up, I go to the gym before my 12-hour shift, and then I have my 12-hour shift. And like, I hear these crazy stories about how people don't have time. And it's like, people say that I work 12 hours a day. It's like, well, you work 12 hours a day every day. You're working 84 hours a week? Like, sorry, but like, you can say no. And it's like, oh, but I need the money. If you're working 84 hours a week, you should be rich. You should be wealthy. Otherwise, like, I'm sorry, but if you're working 84 hours a week to pay your bills, either your bills are completely out of control or you're being taken advantage of by your employer. There are other jobs available that you don't have to work 84 hours a week to make enough money to cover rent. So there's always a way, right? There's always a way to change it. But more importantly, The true crux of this is that time isn't really the issue. You can work on time, you can improve time, and especially once you build your business, you can free up a lot of your time. But in order to get there, there are going to be times where your calendar's a lot more full. But time is almost never the actual issue. It's energy, right? If someone has to wake up at 5 a.m., they work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., let's say, right? And then they get home and they're exhausted. They're tired. That's the real answer. If they had unlimited energy, they'd be able to get home at 6:30, shower, have dinner. It's 7:30 now. And even if they still needed 8 hours of sleep, well, they have to go to bed at 9. They have an hour and a half to work now. If you have unlimited energy and focus, then you can work for an hour and a half and still get a lot done on a business if you're working with a high leverage business model. But if you truly had unlimited energy, you wouldn't even need to sleep. And you could just work all through the night and then go back to work the next day. Now, obviously, that's not realistic. That's not going to happen. But again, if you truly had unlimited energy, you'd be able to do that. No one truly has unlimited energy, but you can increase the amount of energy you have. It's something that is within your influence. Even if it's not under your direct control, it is within your influence. So, to wrap this quick video up, time is usually not the issue. It's usually not the primary roadblock. It's generally energy. If you can find ways to increase your energy, improve your focus, improve your attention, you can accomplish way more with the time you have than if you lack energy or lack focus, which is focus is a byproduct of energy, directing energy specifically. So if you truly have enough energy, time becomes much less of an issue, right? Or you realize that time is not the actual reason that you couldn't get those things done. It was energy. So if you can figure out ways to increase your energy, to optimize your health, to remove distractions from your life, to stay away from things or even people that drain you of your energy, then you can make the most use of your time, and you will realize that time wasn't actually what was blocking you. It was energy. And then from there, even if you only have an hour or two a day to work towards your goals, you can approach that hour or two a day with focus and energy, and then you can actually get the most out of that time. You'd be amazed how much you can get out of a very short amount of time if you approach that time with focus, intent, and energy. So, I gotta go train now. I hope you found this video valuable. You can figure out a way to implement it into your life. I'll talk to you soon.